Good evening again. So because we're live streaming this event, this meeting, we have to give a little bit of a lead time because all the tech has to catch up to us. If you haven't already filled out a little ticket for our raffle, it's just your first and last name, one per family, and then the name of the school your child attends currently. So, Mr. De La Garza, you give me the thumbs up when you're ready to start. I always start too soon.
Yeah. Just get the lights on here. I think we go.
I'm hearing myself on Mr. B.
Okay, ready when you are.
I'm going to cue this up and we're ready to go. Give this to Rachel. Yes, this to All right, good evening, everyone. My name is Ms. Deladorante. I'm the principal here at Toll. I recognize some faces from some of our tours because a lot of parents came in and did parent tours over the last few months. We had our last one a few Fridays ago. I think I did about 8 or 9 tours with about 15 to 20 families each tour. So we were very busy, and it makes sense because over the last few years, we haven't been able to open our doors and have parents join us and students join us on campus. It's all been virtual. So while we still hold on to a piece of the virtual with our live stream, it is really nice to have you here in the building in our auditorium. A couple housekeeping pieces, PTA and Foundation were outside, so I hope you picked up some information from them. If you need to use the restroom, the men's restroom is if you go directly left down the hallway, you stay on this floor, and it's the last door on your right. The women, we have a single stall restroom. If you go the opposite direction toward this way, make a right when you come out of the auditorium, and it's on your left. So you'll see those. So those are available to you. So we have a lot to go over tonight, but we're not going to just sit and talk to you, hopefully for the next 40, 45 minutes. You're going to meet some of our staff. We are going to take your questions. I know that Mr. Demergardician is on our live stream. I'm going to introduce him and Dr. Robinson in a second because we're taking questions on YouTube, but we're also taking questions live here. You'll see I have it built into the slides when it's time for questions. So if you're one of those people like me who always forgets what the question is, open that notes app and start jotting down what information you'd like to hear from us today. So our agenda tonight, we are going to talk about your student support team here at Toll, talk about a day in the life of a Titan, what a day looks like, bell schedules and classes, student registration process. We're going to talk about our course, the first days of school, grades and supports, Parent Connect, bills, and then making connections to support your students, your Titan. So we're going to go through this. It looks like a lot. I love a list because I like to keep on top of things I need to do. So agendas are like lists for me. So we're going to go ahead and get to our first part here. Again, I'm Ms. Deladorante. This is my 4th year being principal at Toll. I was an assistant principal here for 4 years. And as one of you in the audience pointed out, I also taught here. I started here 21 years ago as a history teacher at Toll. I've done other things at the district level and out of state, but I've spent probably 80% of my educational career here at Toll Middle School in Glendale. One of my former students' nieces is starting next year, and I had this flash go hard that I remembered when she was born because I think it was on Facebook. It's just horrifying. Just like your life in front of your eyes. So I started being the principal. I started leading the school during COVID. So 2019 was my first year. And then we all know what happened 6 months later. So it's been super fun to be on campus this year and feel almost back to normal. It's been really exciting. So I am lucky to have 2 really wonderful assistant principals. Dr. Robinson, Rashida Robinson is here. You're going to hear from her a little bit later. And Mr. Shant Demergardician as well. He's our assistant principal. He had a couple years at Wilson before he came to his senses and came to us at Toll. Dr. Robinson taught science in Burbank and went off to grad school at Columbia, New York to get her PhD in science education. So she is here joining us in her first This is your second year at Toll as assistant principal. So we are really tight. We work well together. We communicate constantly, and we're usually up in each other's business at least a few times a day to find out what's going on and what we can do to help each other and to help our students. Mr. Demirgordichian is going to be on the computer tracking any questions that come up in the comment section on our YouTube, so he's going to be monitoring that, but you'll hear from Dr. Robinson in a little bit. So the way that we organize our students here at Toll is by last name. So if you had a former student who came through Toll, or you yourself came to Toll, this is different as of a few years ago. We wanted to make sure that our counselors and our assistant principals stayed with the students through their entire 2 or 3 years at Toll. So what we did is we split them up alphabetically. So Dr. Robinson, her students that she is the point person for, students whose last names start with A, and then C through K, and Mr. Demirgordichian is the letter B. I know that seems weird, but we have a ton of students and it bounces out, let me tell you. And then the last names L through Z. So they're the point person for families all through their experience at Toll. And they partner with our academic counselors. So we have 3. We have Mrs. Castagnari, our head counselor. She's on the right. She partners with Dr. Robinson. So they're partners in communicating with families and helping kids. Ms. Hagpana, who's on the left in the picture, partners with Mr. Demirgordichian with students in their alphabet section. And then Mrs. Barbarian is in the middle. She's our intervention counselor and kind of all-around support for students who need it. We have invested in her. It was something we decided we needed post-COVID and post-pandemic. But now we've decided to keep her on staff full-time. So if that means paying her from various funds, we're going to do it. She's very talented, and she also just gets to know kids really well. We've seen a huge difference in kids who need extra help because she's been on staff. So academic counselors at the middle school level function as a support for students with their schedule, teachers, homework, balancing kind of the ins and outs in middle school. They might do some counseling here and there, like social emotional counseling. They're especially gifted, all 3 of these ladies, at kind of working through student conflict. So if you have, middle school is a time for a lot of kids who they have all their friends from elementary school that they might be trying to figure out if they still want to be friends with, because kids go through a lot of changes in middle school. So sometimes those friendships can become painful. Any of you who remember middle school know exactly what I'm talking about, or seen any movie or after school special or any sitcom about what happens when friendships might break up and how kids manage that. Our counselors are really good at that, and they want to make sure kids are happy and connected. Those are their 2 main goals. If your child's struggling in a class, this is their first point of contact, because they can give them tutoring schedules and kind of remind them of all the ways they can get support here on campus. We have a full-time school psychologist who supports our students with IEPs, but also is just a wonderful resource for us to have, Dr. Jessie Irwin. And then we have a full-time teacher specialist, Ms. Yegians. She supports our English language learners. She manages all of our testing and surveys, and she also runs our GATE programs, which are pretty minimal at the middle school level, very different than it is in elementary, but we still have a few opportunities for students with that designation. Ms. Yegians we have a lot of bilingual support here on campus, but she's magical because she speaks English, Armenian, and Russian. We have a huge number of Russian students and Ukrainian students coming to us over the last few years. So we've had to really build our supports for those students and those families so they can communicate. But we do have a deep level of bilingualism, mostly from our staff, but also because we have 5 dual language programs here at Toll, and I'll get through that in a second. So this is the nitty gritty. Again, this is going to be on the website. You're going to see this multiple times in your first few weeks at Toll. Your students have already seen this. As of Tuesday, that was Tuesday, right? As of Tuesday, we had our last feeder school visit. So Balboa joined us on Tuesday, but every feeder school has been here, has sat in these seats and learned a little bit about the middle school experience. They saw some performances, they did a tour, they got snack, they got all sorts of things. It was a fun experience for all of our incoming students. So those students, when they were here, we kind of walked through this, but this is my metaphor for you. Middle school is a little bit, and there's a lot of things happening on this slide. It's kind of like riding a bike. If I tell you how to ride a bike and I don't give you a bike, I don't give you a space to practice, I don't show you with my body how to get on the bike and pedal, it's going to be very hard for me just to explain it with words and then say, go ride your bike. I'm not going to get it, because how do you teach someone to ride a bike? You get on the bike and you put your foot in the pedal and you balance and you learn where the brakes are and you learn how fast you can go and all of that. This is like your bike, your middle school bike. It doesn't make a lot of sense when you're just reading it. It feels overwhelming and it feels like something that you're never going to get. But believe me, by the first few weeks of school, by the first few days of school, your students are going to have this down. And this is I'm a parent as well. What I always tell other parents, this is not your schedule. This is your student's schedule. So if it doesn't make sense to you, I have a 15-year-old who's on a block schedule at a high school in a different district. I can never remember what day his classes are. I'm like, what'd you have today? He's like, why don't you ever remember? I'm like, because I don't have to go. You have to go, and you have to tell me what your day was like. I don't need to remember that. So this is something that your students are going to get better at. So all of our students have 7 classes. For the most part, that means anywhere between 5 and 7 different teachers. Right now, they're in elementary school. They might have 1 or 2, because a lot of elementary schools move through that model and start that in the later grades, whether it's 4th, 5th, or 6th grade. They start to kind of practice having multiple teachers, multiple expectations, different environments, etc. So all students take a math, an English, a PE, a science, a history, and then we have 2 electives. So I'm going to explain electives in the next slide. So our students don't go to every class every day. They go to odd classes, odd numbered classes on odd number days, which are Tuesday, Thursdays, and then on Wednesdays and Fridays, they go to their even classes, and I'll show you what that looks like on another slide. So the elective classes, if those of you who had that form, right, how many of you have seen the registration form because your child's current teacher sent it home? And I see kids raising their hand. That's the really important piece for our electives. We want to make sure your students get those classes or tell us what classes they're interested in so they can have that to look forward to. Electives are a fun part of the day. They can have fun in all these other classes, but this is the place where they get a lot of hands-on learning, whether it's cooking or athletic conditioning or learning another language or practicing their drama skills or learning how to work a live stream for a parent meeting. We have a student working back there tonight. This is a chance for them to really start to explore what they want to do career-wise, hobby-wise, all that good stuff. Our students who have IEPs who need an extra class to support them, that takes up one of these spots of electives. If your student is still an English language learner, you know that because they take the LPAC test every year, one of their ELD classes might take up one of the spots. But for the most part, most of our kids get 2 of these elective classes. We also have something every single day called advisory. That's 15 minutes in the morning. Monday, Wednesday, Friday, we do announcements, but Tuesdays and Thursdays, there are social emotional learning lessons. Dr. Robinson takes the lead on what those lessons are. We shoot them out to the teachers on a slide deck, and they lead those conversations with their classes Tuesdays and Thursdays. Sometimes it's digital citizenship, how to use your computer, how to send an email, how to do anything like that. But we're doing a whole series on Black History Month this month, so they're looking and engaging with information on that and having conversations built around those themes. So we try and look at the calendar and see what we need to do, and then also what we want to do and what we see the students need as well. So these are the electives. Like I said, it's a lot of words up here. We're talking it through. You're seeing this for the first time. You're going to see this over and over again. So this is just your brief intro. So in 6th grade, how many of you have students coming to us as 6th graders next year? Yes, so our 6th grades come from Columbus. They come from Keppel, and starting this coming year in August, we have 6th graders coming to us from Balboa. So that means Balboa is closing their 6th grade. This is their last group of 6th graders they're going to have this year. So 5th and 6th graders from Balboa are coming to us next year. Like, they're going to come as 6th and 7th graders, obviously. We don't have 5th grade, but you get where I'm going. They won't have 6th grade at Balboa anymore. So our 6th graders come from Keppel, Columbus, and Balboa. Our 7th graders come from Edison, Franklin, and Jefferson, and Balboa as of this year. Next year will not be the case. So our 6th grade, we have something called the wheel. You probably have seen that on that form. The wheel means exactly that. They're spinning through the wheel. Every 10 weeks, they're going to do something up here. They're going to be in choir. They're going to do drama. They're going to do mindfulness, art, a college and career pathways class. They're just getting a taste of an elective. And so once they go through, they're going to go through 4 of those classes. So once they have a sense of it, like right now or at the end of the year, they're going to know what they like and what they don't like. And sometimes knowing what you don't like is as important as knowing what you like. So when they're going to 7th grade, they can make those choices in a mindful way. We also have something called Family and Life Science. It's sewing, cooking, baking, design. We have a really phenomenal teacher who runs that, Mrs. Brown. Her daughter's actually going to be a 6th grader here next year. She goes to Keppel now. Mrs. Brown's class has 8 functioning kitchens. She has sewing machines, Cricut machines. She teaches them all the things that have to do with cooking and baking and sewing and all those little hands-on pieces. She also does costumes for our plays. I'm going to talk about that a little bit later. She's very gifted. So those classes are extremely popular because she teaches everything from 8th down to 6th grade at different levels of expectation. Kids love that class. Even if they don't think they're going to like to learn how to cook, they all like to eat. So when we go in there and they'll say, I don't really want to learn how to make cake, and then they walk out of there with a piece of cake, they're like, oh, I get it. I want to make some cake. And then here's the best part is that they also learn to clean. If I mention that she has 8 kitchens, we all have 1. If you have 2, let's talk. But she has 8 kitchens in there. And so if you cook, you clean. So everyone's got a job. Everyone understands the function of measuring and cutting and slicing and warming and food safety, all of that. So if your child's in that class, they're going to come home with some information and you might be able to put them to work. And then we have a study skills class for our 6th graders. Really important. Middle school is a big transition. They're not used to balancing all those expectations. Homework can be a lot or a little depending on the day, but it's a lot of time management. So we have a class where a teacher is really good at kind of guiding students through those executive functions of balancing their time and also trying to figure out, what they're interested in, guiding them through those pathways in middle school. In 7th and 8th grade, we have something called Skills for Success, which is a little bit of study skills leveled up. So peer mediation, how to get along with peers, how to understand different perspectives and points of view. We also have public speaking, exploring physics. You can see international art and culture, creative writing, all opportunities for students to take those for a semester, which is a 20-week period. We have introduction to digital studio and stage audio. So Matthew, who's in the back, he's our student who is up here doing the sound check. He's running sound and helping Mr. De La Garza, our teacher. We have a class every day that helps run our announcements. We have a YouTube channel. That's where this live stream is happening. And it's me and a student and maybe some other faculty members coming in, and it's a broadcast of our announcements. So we don't come over the PA, we do it straight through TV. So all of our students are watching at the same time. And then if you wanted to, I don't want to watch myself, but you can, if you had a question about something going on at school, you could just click onto our YouTube channel. All of those live there like forever. So you could go back and see me in my laundry room during the pandemic. It's not nice, I'm just gonna warn you. It's not the prettiest production value, but we have all of those kind of living permanently on our YouTube channel. And the students love it. At the beginning of this semester, we invited students to sign up to be co-hosts. And I have students of all sorts coming in to do that. And they're really excited. They read from a teleprompter, they're behind a desk, they have a green screen, and then the students who are in front of them are running everything in that studio. So a really good opportunity for students to do that. And then they can level up, work in the auditorium like Matthew. We have a full light and sound board in the back, so they learn how to work all the lights in this auditorium, as well as our really great soundboard and our good system. So Mr. De La Garza is our music teacher and our tech teacher. He guides us. He's a wonderful asset here, but he makes us look good and sound good all the time. We have student government and yearbook. Those are classes on that form that said there was an application. That's because those 2 classes require students to be good role models and trustworthy, because we're trusting them with things like student events on campus. Building a yearbook is a really an exercise in trust, because whose picture gets in the yearbook, what gets featured, the teacher's guiding them through, but we have to have students who understand the whole school, not just their experience at the school. Fitness and sports conditioning. If you have a child who is an athlete, like they love to compete, they play club, or they're just constantly wanting to move, this is a class, everyone takes PE, but this is a class that's taught by one of our teachers who's also a high school coach, and he's coached at the club level for years. He's teaching them how to be good teammates, team members and be take care of their bodies. So it's a lot of high level competition, but also conditioning, working out, like how to, you know, stay, I don't know, I obviously don't take this class, but these kids are staying, like learning how to keep their bodies healthy, nutrition, constant, you know, like 30 minutes a day up, muscle conditioning, all of that, as well as how to win well and lose well, because that's part of playing on a team too. I mentioned we have 5 dual language programs here. If your child is not in a dual language or a flag program, this is a great place to be because we have those teachers. So those teachers want to teach kids who are not in those dual language programs because they want to spread the beauty of their language. So we have Italian, Korean, French, Armenian, and Spanish. All of those teachers, with the exception of Korean, because we're a little short on that, teach a class that's like an introduction class for students. So if your child's not in dual language, but they want to learn another language, they can do that here. We have a semester-long, like exploring Italian, exploring French classes that they can take, where it's literally like alphabet, culture, color, those basics. And then we have an opportunity for your students when they're in 8th grade to take a class that gets them high school credits. So Spanish 1-2, Italian 1-2, French 1-2. If they're taking those classes, that counts as 1 year of language at the high school level. So we can do that because we have the really gifted language teachers working with our dual language students. If you are in the dual language program, the great thing about 7 periods in a day is your child gets their dual language class and they also get another elective. So they can learn their language and keep that maintaining that really high level of language instruction and learning, and then also cook or do art, or be in a drama program or athletic conditioning, so they can do a little bit of everything. That was one of the main reasons why all the middle schools in the district really pushed for that 7-period day, because we want our kids to have experiences. We want them to be able to explore their passions and their interests so that when they get to high school, they're ready to go. All right, this is the overwhelming thing. This is our bell schedule. So Mondays, we get out at 2:14. So on Mondays, which is on the right, that's our banking day. Every day we start school at 8:30. That's either good news. I'm telling you, when I say that to your kids, they're like cheering. It almost gets as much cheers as pizza when I tell them they can do pizza every day, because we have pizza every day in the cafeteria. Your child, by the way, just an aside, is going to talk about pizza nonstop for the first 2 weeks. You're going to say, how was your day? How'd it go? And they're like, oh my gosh, there's pizza. And then they're going to keep talking about pizza because they don't get pizza every day in elementary school, right? But here they can get pizza every day. And come on, I mean, that's just what makes them happy for the first few weeks. That's okay. But also that 8:30 start is really great. And if you're a Keppel family, you know that us starting a little bit later helps the traffic a bit outside, because Keppel starts around 8, Hoover and Toll start at 8:30. And the traffic I cannot say enough how terrible it is. So make a plan, get some practice in, get some walking in, make sure your kids have good walking shoes. They can walk a couple blocks. They're gonna be fine. So on banking days, they go to all their classes, and you can see the minutes are in the parentheses. There are shorter periods. We have snack and lunch built in, but they see all their teachers on Mondays. And then this is when we start to rotate. Am I here? Yep, Tuesday through Friday. They go, like today is Wednesday, so our students went to period 1, because you always start with period 1. And then after that today was an even day. They went to period 2, then they went to snack, then they went to period 4, then went to lunch, and then went to period 6, and they went home. So tomorrow they'll do period 1, then period 3, then snack, then period 5, then lunch, and then period 7. And it sounds like a lot. Remember the bike, right? It's not going to make sense until you're living and doing it. And this schedule is something that we enforce from the first day, but we are helping kids get to where they need to go. We're not marking tardies those first few days or the first few weeks, I would say. We're trying to get students where they want to go. And what I always tell our 6th and 7th graders is those 8th graders might look tall and like they know what they're doing. No, every year, the first few days of school, they're like, yep, I'm in 8th grade. And they kind of waltz in, and then the bell rings and they're like, oh, I don't have my schedule. What are you going to do? How are you going to find your classes without your schedule? I thought it was in my head. Well, it's not in your head. You have to have it printed out. So I always tell the students when they visit, there are 3 secrets to middle school. The first one is to print out your schedule and have it in your backpack and take it out when you need it. No shame. I take out paper all the time. I have to look at my phone on my notes. Don't keep it up here. Your brain is already full of nervousness and emotions and anxiety and excitement. Don't shove a schedule in there. That's too much, right? Have it on a piece of paper, and then you're going to know where you're going to go. And don't like write it and say period 1 is English. This happens every year, am I right? They come up to you and they go, my first period is English. Can you tell me where that is? I'm like, well, what's the teacher? And they're like, I don't know. What classroom? No idea. Just English. I'm like, oh, there's like 10 possibilities. So then I walk them to the counseling office and we get them a schedule. So at home, and we're going to have a meeting for new parents in August too. That's the best thing. Either print one out and put it in the backpack, or have your students sit down online and write their schedule on an index card or a Post-it, whatever works, and slip it in that backpack because you should have it with you, at least for the first few weeks. So we have block schedule. You can see there's 90 minutes in a block schedule. So they're in one class with one content area because they only see the class every other day. It's a double block, so it's a 90-minute period. The teachers have all sorts of ways to keep kids engaged. There's stretch breaks, they're doing stuff. They're not just sitting there taking notes for 90 minutes. This is not college. We want to make sure students are active and moving and engaging and working with each other and presenting. You know, maybe they need to take a stretch break and stand up and do a weird exercise and then sit down to get them focused. But it is a long period of time, but you guys in elementary school are already doing this. You sit that long in one class and do that. So it's just a matter of thinking about it differently when you come to TOEL. So in elementary school, your grades are 4, 3, 2, 1, right? And you still have citizenship marks. We convert to letter grades when you get to middle school for all grade levels. So it's an A is a 4, a B is a 3, a C is a 2, and this is rough. A D is a 1, and then an F is a failure. We don't want to see that letter on our report card. Every class gets a grade, PE, elective, everything gets a grade. Teachers determine what an A is, so they'll determine what the percentages are for each letter grade. You're going to get, parents, that first few weeks of school, you're going to get 7 different course expectations or syllabi to look at. They're going to tell you what's being learned in the class, what the rules are, what the grades are, how to reach them, and they're probably going to have you sign every single one. So you can look at those and pay attention to them, but then the teachers maintain Google Classrooms and everything. Teachers are great at email in middle school. That's a primary way of communicating with teachers, whether, and we're going to talk about student email in a little bit, or the parents. Email's the fastest, best way to get a teacher and get a question answered. And then our citizenship marks are the same, I think, as elementary. So this is my last slide before we take questions. If you had a question, you got to get ready. So something we do at TOEL that isn't done at any other middle school is we have a core system. So what that means is at each grade level, we have little groups, little clusters. So if you had an older student who came through TOEL, this is going to look familiar to you. So every grade level has a color and an animal in 3 different groups. So for our 6th grades, let's say, black stallions, green gorillas, and purple pandas. So what that means is when your students come here, one thing we know about middle school is kids are trying to figure out who they are. This is a time of exploration of themselves. Are they going to be the same person they were in elementary school? Are they going to try and dye their hair? Are they going to try and be a little defiant with you? Any of you get that already? A little, yeah. They're going to see if they want to be an athlete, or maybe they're going to dump the athletics. They're going to go to music, or they're going to try different things. And this is a really great time for them to do that in a very low stakes way. When they get to high school, the grades matter for graduation, for looking at colleges and looking at a different pathway. Here, grades are important. But if they're going to slip a little and find out that math is too hard, or I need something more challenging, this is a good place for them to do it, because we're going to get them through to promote. We're going to get them to pass their classes or get them the support they need. But this is the place where they can make a mistake and then bounce right back, because no one's going to, I mean, all of our students, even if they don't meet the requirements for promotion, and we have some students who don't, they're still going to go to high school, right? So something like in high school where if you fail one class, you have to keep taking that class until you pass it. So if you're not going to graduate from high school if you don't pass a required class. Here, that's not necessarily the case. So as students are trying to figure out their identity, who they are, what they want to be, sometimes we need something to hold on to. And our cores are a way to do that. So let me do, for example, so our Black Stallion core. Black Stallions have maybe an English and history teacher and then a science teacher. Those two teachers will see the same kids over the course of their day. They share students. So like this year, it's Mrs. Hawker, who's the English science teacher. She's been here forever, formerly known as Mrs. Torres. And then her partner in science is Mrs. Hall. So the two of them will see the same students. They have the same 100, 115 students throughout the course of all those periods, and they can communicate with you, with the student. They share expectations, so the rules aren't drastically different from Ms. Hawker to Mrs. Hall. They share things like maybe they'll cross-collaborate. If there's an opportunity for science and history to do a shared project, they can do that. If they go on field trips, they usually do that together. But the most important thing that the kids will tell you is they can walk around and say, I'm a stallion. Black stallion, I'm a seal, I'm an eagle, I'm a dolphin. It's that other identity. So in case they're trying to figure out what group am I in, that's a default right there. They have that group. We do core competitions. We celebrate the core that participates the most in different activities we do with our student government. So we try and reward them for being a proud member of their core. It's just a fun way to buy a t-shirt. It's, again, that other identity piece that can be very important in middle school. It is a long-standing tradition. So if you went to Toll or somebody you know went to Toll and is maybe in their 30s, they might be able to tell you what core they were in. One of our teachers, Mrs. Tashin, she went to Toll and she has her core shirt in her classroom. The kids are like, look at that, that's my core shirt, yeah. So it's a fun way to do it. So our 6th grade are stallions, gorillas, and pandas. Our 7th grade cores are seals, tigers, and panthers, and our 8th grade cores are dolphins, eagles, and wolves. There is not a test on this. I still test them. You have to get used to it. It's hard to get the animal right. All right, so it's time for questions. So the way we're gonna do this is Dr. Robinson has a mic, so she's gonna walk around, and if you have a question, raise your hand and we'll put you on the mic so that we can get your questions answered. And then Mr. D is also gonna tell us. Nothing in the live stream, great. Does anyone have a question to start? Okay, great. Here, we're gonna do this talk show style.
Hi, I have 2 questions. One of them is, how much time do they have to go from one period to the next period? Like, I see that everything is like scheduled out there. And then second question is, what is the homework policy?
So passing period is what we refer to that time in between. So they have 5 minutes, but with the block schedule, they're not moving as much. So if they go from first period to second period, like they did today, they have 5 minutes to get from one place to another. I will tell you, and I will tell kids this, and I will challenge them, from the back fence in heels to the 3rd floor. I can do it in 5 minutes if I'm not like, getting a snack, talking to my friend. So like in PE, they change. They have extra time built into PE, so there's no excuse. They don't like ring the bell and have 5 minutes to change and get to go. They have some time built into the period. So 5 minutes in between, but they only have to go to 7 different classes on Mondays. So 5 minutes is plenty of time. Yeah. The homework policy, we don't have a general homework policy because the teachers determine that class to class. So one of the things about the cores, if I can go back to that slide, is they should be coordinating that. So if I'm the history teacher in a core and I have a project due next Friday, I tell my English and science partners, like, hey, I got something big due next Friday. So if you have something big, let's plan it out, calendar that out, so that kids don't have 4 giant deadlines on one day. So we try and balance, but teachers do give homework here. Math typically is every night because we know that's helpful for math practice, but others are like TBD, depends on the teacher you have. Some of them will build in the 90 minutes time to get that work done in class too. Other questions? Let Dr. Robinson know. She's gonna get you.
What's the average class size?
That's a great question. So depending on the class, we can go, our biggest class size is gonna be PE. So we build PE to hold 50 students, 50 to 60, but PE teachers will tell you, those are our classes. We try not to get to 60, so between 50 and 55, but like by contract, we can go to 60. We don't like to do that. Other classes, we try and keep math classes below 33 or at 33. The other classes can get big. And one of our challenges, I know when I meet with the middle school principals across the district, one of our challenges is middle schools don't cap. If you're familiar with that term capping at elementary, they're like, oh, we're out of room. Go find someplace else. We're not allowed to do that. So if I get 20, so for example, from the start when we came back from winter break up until the end of January, we got about 20 to 25 new students. That's massive. So we got to find a place for all those kids to take all 7 of those classes if they're English language learners. So we have to slice them in to those classes. And so a class might grow until we solve the problem with like hiring someone to teach another class. Like it has to get that intense. But typically we like to keep it 38 and below. Math, we have a different level. But a child's not going to go to every single class with 38 kids in it. It's going to be like spots. Make sense? It's different than elementary because it's so much massive. We have almost 1,200 students this year. We're getting 150 more from Balboa for 6th grade. So we're going to be big next year, but we get to hire more people. So we're not going to try and do it with the current staff we have. It would be impossible. All right, next questions. So I can hear and hear.
What are the standards for advanced math?
That's a good question. So advanced classes, we have advanced classes starting in 7th grade. So 6th grade, everyone's at grade level. 7th grade math, if you're in 6th grade right now, you're probably going to be taking a placement test. It's like a UCLA, it's got this whole long name, right? That test, that standard like cut point, if you look on the district, that's district wide, like the score. I don't know the score off the top of my head because I would have never qualified for advanced math. I can barely remember phone numbers, so that's another conversation. So if you look on the district math section, it'll tell you what the point is. Now, we have students who barely make that cutoff, have good grades in math, and also have high CASP scores, the other state test scores, and NWEA scores. There's a lot of data we can look at. So if a student is almost there and wants to take advanced math as a 7th grader or as an 8th grader, they can do like a really hardcore summer school class. It's like 4 hours of math every day for 5 weeks. Can't. I walk by and I poke my head in. I'm like, how's everyone doing? Does anyone need a snack? Because it's intense, right? Because it's basically a year of math in one summer. So we have advanced math in 7th and 8th grade. Those are very clear ways to get into those classes because it's hard. You're doing like a year and a half in 1 year. So this year we have about 85 kids in advanced math in 7th grade and about 95 in 8th grade. They're not all in the same class. They're in multiple classes. That's pretty good, especially coming out of COVID. A lot of kids who are really high achieving in math. For other advanced classes, we have advanced history and advanced English. Those are like CASP scores, teacher recommendation, and you might have seen that on the form. If a student is GATE, we look at that, but that's not the only way you can get into an advanced class because some kids don't score well on that GATE exam, but they still can do the advanced level work. When I was saying before about low stakes in middle school, if your kid wants to take an advanced class in middle school, that's great. We want to encourage them. But what I would tell you from parent to parent and principal to parent is it's a big transition. So if they think they can take a ton of advanced classes and do well, do not underestimate how much transition and acclimating they're going to need to do, getting used to middle school. It's okay. If they're not in advanced classes in 7th grade, they can still take them in 8th. Math is the only question, is the only thing that's considered differently. But we want to give kids opportunities, but we also want to make sure they're getting what they need and that they can feel like they can level up when they're ready. Again, low stakes, but really high reward if they're ready for it. Okay? But go on the district website and see that math cutoff. Great. Dr. Robinson, you have some back there?
Some hands on this side, so I just switched sides to make it easier.
Do we have lockers or do we have to carry our backpacks everywhere?
Oh my gosh, Dr. Robinson is going to drop this news on you. We don't use the lockers in the hallways anymore. We have a lot of them, but we don't have enough of them that work. They're very old. So you won't be carrying your books everywhere because you only see every teacher Mondays, right? So we ask the teachers on Mondays to not require a bunch of books. Every student's going to get books at the beginning of the school year. They stay home because we have sets here. So we're not hauling giant textbooks back and forth. So you get a history book, that's the heaviest one. That one stays home. And then you take it home one day in August, you bring it back one day in June. So that's not too bad. But everything else, like I've made a really big effort to talk to the teachers and say, what do you need in your classroom to have students carry less with them? Do you need a shelf? Do you need supplies? Do you need books? I'll buy those things for you. We will buy those things for your classroom if I don't have kids carrying around everything. Now, this is my metaphor. If you went on a tour with me, this is my analogy rather. If any of you have ever been on an airplane and people bring on their carry-on bags, yeah? Are you the person who is like trying to shove your giant bag in that overhead bin? Is that you? Like, oh, it's gonna fit, because you have everything in there, right? You have markers just in case. You have 4 books in case. You have all the snacks. You have 4 water bottles, and you have everything in there because you have to have it with you. Okay, don't be that person in middle school. Don't be the person who makes everyone wait on the airplane for you to jam it in that overhead bin. I'm the one behind you going, come on, just check the bag, please, right? Don't be the person who brings everything. You don't need it. We're gonna get you used to that. Teachers coach actually 6th graders. I'm just gonna say 6th graders are the worst at this. They bring all the art supplies. I'm telling you, don't need that. So the 6th grade teachers help you know what you need and what you don't need, as opposed to want, right? We know what we want, but what do we need? Okay, you'll get a PE and locker in PE. We have little lockers for everyone in PE. With a lock, you put your clothes in and store things down there, but not book lockers. All right, I got to drop that news on him, Dr. Robinson, so you don't have to.
Hi there, I have 2 questions. The first one's, when should we expect, I guess, online enrollment or paper enrollment, or is that something that our current child's school is gonna let us know about? That's the first question.
Okay, go for the second one. Is it related?
And the second one was regarding after-school programs, and I'm probably gonna get the acronym wrong, but that ACES or ACES program, whatever that's called.
Yeah.
Do they offer that here just as well too, or some sort of after-school program?
Great. So registration, if your students came here and visited and we are the school they're coming to, they got a form with their name on it and to pick their electives, and you sign it, they give it to their teacher. That's how we know you're coming here. If you were supposed to come to Toll because this is your neighborhood school, already all the digital records will flop over to us. We have access to them, so you don't have to do anything. You don't have to re-register. There's paperwork every year that you have to click through, like the privacy notice and all these other notices that you have to click through. You do that every year, but you don't have to bring your utility bills. You don't have to do any of that. We're done with that. If you're living in the same place, we're good to go. That form is due next Friday that your student got from their teacher. If they didn't get it, you need to have them go tomorrow and say, where's my form? They should all have it at this point. The second piece to that is if you have any questions on enrollment, and you want to make sure, you can call and talk to our registrar, who's in our counseling office. She's the one who handles all enrollment. After school, yes, we have after school program. My recommendation to you, because it fills up, is to talk to your current after school program person at your elementary school to make sure you're good to go for next year. Yes, but we have that too. We don't have before school, just after. Anyone else? Was there one right here? We good? Oh, we're gonna have another Q&A, so if you can hold on to your question and we can get to the rest while Dr. Robinson finishes up. Yeah.
Hi, I'm curious about the drama program. Is it a production-based program where students get to put on a production at the culmination of a semester or a year?
So our drama program, students take drama class, but we also do drama productions that are related to drama class, but not, because what we don't want to do is have a student who doesn't take drama not be able to do the production. So we do a fall play and a spring musical. So our fall play was I Hate Shakespeare. It was up here, full lights, full costumes, full back set, everything. Some of the students in there were in our drama class and some weren't. They just auditioned. We do a spring musical, Keppel's next door. We do the musical, and this is new because we just started this program last year. We do our musical first, and then Keppel comes in right behind us. So we try and coordinate sets. So we're doing Cinderella this year, and they're doing Annie. So it's gonna work. They tell me it's gonna work. I haven't seen any blueprints or anything. So students audition for those, but if they're in the drama class, they can already be building those skills. Our drama teacher, Miss Galvin, her classes this is only her second year here, extraordinarily popular. So we wanna build that drama capacity, especially kids coming from Keppel to us. We wanna keep feeding that because Keppel is an arts magnet. So we wanna keep feeding that visual performing arts piece that they bring with them and then offer that to our other students too. So our 2 biggest flagship programs are dual language immersion and the arts. We're building that arts piece too. We are not going to be a magnet, but that's our focus for our electives at the art piece. Yeah, it's exciting. I'll send you Cinderella posters. We just got them. They're out there. We put them up already for you. Your elementary school will get them digitally and physically. So we're excited. All right, one more question here. I know you want to, can you wait till the next part? Just don't forget, okay? All right, Dr. Robinson, one online? Okay. Okay, we'll get those on the next session. Ready? So Dr. Robinson's going to present the next info.
All right, good evening. Thank you for coming. I know this is a long day, especially if you worked all day. So I'm going to try to keep it brief. Student orientation is in August. There's a 6th grade day, a 7th grade day, and an 8th grade day. We call our student orientation WEB. It stands for Where Everyone Belongs. And it's a student-only event. It's a fun day. They play games. They get information about the school. There's lots of music and silliness. They go around the campus. They get a campus tour. It is led by some of our teachers, like our ASB teacher, who also does yearbook, Ms. Fabanish, Mr. Garcia, who's also one of our teachers. They lead the WEB experience. They get to talk to current 8th graders that we have trained as WEB leaders, and they can identify them because they get a snappy new shirt every year with a year on it, and it's very identifiable. And that's who will take them on their tours, so they can ask the good kid questions without the grown-ups hovering over them and get like the real juicy answers they want, right? Stuff that we don't know because we're not in class with them. And they will also get their class schedules that day, so they'll get a sneak peek at where they're going to be going on the first day of school. How to help and get support. This is especially important for our incoming students because we want you to get help right away if you need it and to feel supported the day that you start coming onto campus at Toll. So the first thing we always tell kids is to advocate for themselves, which is something they have to do a little bit more in middle school than they did in elementary school because they have more teachers, they have more classes, they might have more questions. So we encourage them, if something's going on, they need extra help, they don't understand something, to reach out directly to their teacher first, especially if it's something that's happening in the classroom. We always encourage them to say, did you talk to your teacher about it? Once they've spoken to their teacher, and if they still feel like they need a little extra help, we encourage them to either visit or email their counselors. Our counselors have specific times when they're in the counseling office. Lunchtime is a high traffic time. Kids like to go in and see their counselors at lunch. So we encourage them to do that. If they've spoken to the teacher and the counselor and they're like, nope, still need a little extra something, then they can come to me or Mr. D and we can kind of help them out and intervene and see about getting them what they need. This is just a quick reminder. I'm not going to read all these bullets, but if you are not on Parent Connect, we encourage you to get on Parent Connect just because it gives you access to what's going on here and helps you keep up with your child's progress. So I know most of you already know about this, so I'm not going to read these bullets to you. We are a VIL school, which stands for Verizon Innovative Learning. We have a dedicated staff member who is our VILS coach, who supports our students and our teachers with technology, which means every kid gets a Chromebook. And then he also helps supporting them with using their Chromebooks. If they malfunction, they can go to him. He helps with repairs. He helps teachers use them in lessons. Sometimes he even goes in and teaches lessons, teaching kids how to use apps on their Chromebooks. So it's really exciting for the kids to always be able to use technology, and they're going to use it in most classes almost every day. So we teach them about charging it at night to get them through the day and all those kinds of things. And that's part of some of the stuff we do in advisory at the beginning of the year. Speaking of when we get these things, during the first week of school is when they will get textbooks, laptops, any instructional items that they need. So they won't get them when they come for orientation. That includes PE clothes. All of that stuff gets taken care of the first couple weeks of school. And they will also, every student gets a free binder reminder. So they will get a planner where they can use it how they will. It works really well for some kids, and some kids prefer to put calendar reminders in their phone or write themselves notes on their laptop or however they want to do it, but they will get a free one at the beginning of the year. We already covered lockers, so I'm going to skip over that. Also now, as middle school students, they will have access to email. It's restricted use, so it's only for school purposes. So all of the emails they get are basically going to come from other GUSD emails. It's going to be from teachers. We email them. Sometimes I get email questions from kids. I email them directly back. We're going to teach them how to use email, like when is it okay to send an email versus talking to someone in person? How do you write an email? How do you make it understandable? And we try to encourage them to at least check their email once a day. That's something we try to encourage, whether they get into the routine of checking it at night when they get home or at the beginning of the day. We try, sometimes their teachers send announcements and things that come through email. We are also a PBIS school. So our Titan tenets, which we call them, are collaborative, attentive, respectful, and engaged. So the acronym for that is CARE. So there's lots of times when PBIS comes into play. We have stamp cards. So if we see a student doing something that fits one of those tenets, they get a stamp on their card. When they fill up the card, they can go pick a prize. There's various prizes. Students really like that. And they also get entered into drawings for things like a Starbucks card. And then there are also presentations involving CARE. That's part of our advisory, where we teach each other, like, how to be collaborative, how to show that we're paying attention in class and things like that. We also have reinstated Student of the Month. So if their teachers notice that they're consistently following the Titan tenets, they may get a Student of the Month award from a particular teacher. So it's kind of how we teach our students how to treat each other on campus. Oh, time for more questions. Does anybody have questions? The gentleman right here has got another one.
Thank you. Two questions. First, is this available as PowerPoint anywhere on a site, or will this be emailed?
It's going to be posted on our website.
Perfect.
So yeah.
Second question is about the Verizon innovation. My question is about technology. As you know, technology nowadays is widely used in our life. And beyond just the basics, operating iPod or computers, is there any options such as robotics, such as something for kids, anything beyond that? And it looks like Verizon Innovation Center, that's a start. Any plans to expand that?
Oh, Ms. D's going to.
I'll answer that one because it's been a journey. So we had a robotics program here prior to COVID. That teacher took another opportunity in another district. We cannot find a person to teach this because honestly, a lot of those people just go into the tech industry. They're not coming into schools. So we're trying to build the capacity within with like our Verizon tech coach. He's going to start those classes, but we used to have a dedicated teacher who did it all day. So we're trying to build it after school and within the day with various options, but it is going to be very basic to start until we can build that up. With us focusing on the arts, the visual and performing arts, sometimes we can't hire different people to teach all of the interests, but we do want to be able to support things like robotics and that competitive piece because a lot of kids love it. We do kind of scratch the itch, if you will, on kids. So they're working soundboard. They're doing different kinds of tech related to broadcast and performance, but not necessarily the robotics piece. But like I said, next year we have plans for a couple periods for our coach to teach, and then also after school as well, because we have a couple teachers who we need teaching math, but like robotics, so we can give it to them after school and pay them to do that. That's a great question.
What sports are there and when do you get to do them?
That's a great question. So we do have after school sports. We have boys and girls soccer, boys and girls basketball, and we have co-ed volleyball and flag football. So they run at different times of the year. Like right now, our seasons are volleyball and football. And then they'll change out. In the spring, it will be girls basketball and boys soccer. So, but you do have to try out to make them, but it's still an opportunity for you to come out and play sports if that's what you're interested in. They practice after school, unless it rains or something. We had to cancel our football game tomorrow because it looks like we're going to get rained out. We usually play on Thursdays, and we play all the other middle schools. So you go to them once and they come to us once. So it ends up being like 6 games a season.
What about IEP students? Do you offer like reduced classes for them, or they, take part in the big classes? And is there any kind of summer school or program for them?
You want me to do it? Okay, so the question was about students with IEPs. So of course we have students here with IEPs because we have students here with all sorts of needs, whether they're in an IEP or a 504, all sorts. So we have a self-contained class for our students who are really impacted by their disability. So nonverbal or big behaviors. So those students, we have about 10 or 12 on campus. They integrate with the campus at snack and lunch. They go to an elective, so they get to have the experience with the general education peers. Then we have different levels of support for students with IEPs, small classes, and then majority of our students with IEPs are in regular classes, in general education classes, with an aide or with another teacher. So there's a general education teacher, like an English teacher, and then a special education teacher. They're sitting with possibly 25 other kids who have no idea they have an IEP. So they're just getting the support, and the students without an IEP get the benefit of having 2 teachers in the room. So over the next few weeks, if your student has an IEP, they're going to have something called a matriculation meeting. So they will have the final IEP at their elementary school. Someone from Toll will be there to then say, this is what we're going to offer them at Toll based on their need. So yes, we have everything from very restricted, 1 classroom all day, all the way to kids being in gen ed classes. It depends on what they need. And summer school, we have summer school students with IEPs. Some of them have summer school as part of their plan, but summer school typically is for students who are going into 8th grade who want that advanced level math, and then also for students who need intervention, who need extra support in English and math. But that's it. The last few years, all that fun COVID money where we got to offer fun things, it's gone. So this year we go back to English, math, and that's it. So summer school information comes after, so you just filled out information for August because that's where we have to plan for 1,200 students. Summer school is much smaller. So once we get that information from you for next year, then we'll give you the summer school information. Yeah. Summer school starts the Monday after the last day of school and goes for 5 weeks. So it's every day, Monday through Friday, 8:30 to 1:30. I'm gonna, do you want to walk and I'll do the questions, or you want to? You were good at walking. You did that faster than I do. So while Dr. Robinson is getting physical in-person questions, these are from our YouTube. Is testing done on iReady? Middle schools don't use iReady. Middle schools use something called NWA MAP. It's just a different diagnostic. It's a different tool. What time do gates open in the morning? This is a great question. So I like this parent who is like thinking straight up practical. What time can I drop my kid off? So our front doors are open as early as 7:30. People are not out and about out front until about 8. But students get dropped off early. They come in and they go into the back of campus, which is secured. And they stay back there. We also have a gate on Concord that's across from the church. We plan on having that. We're trying to figure out, honestly, because that's a parking lot too, and it's a little bit like our teachers are coming into park, kids are coming in, the traffic down there in that little circle is hard. We're trying to figure that out, but we will have one entrance open on Concord. That opens at 8:15 roughly. So kids who are coming from the south can come that way, but the front door, those are the 2 ways you get on campus. Our rule is if there's not an adult there, we don't open the gate. We have about 6 gates we could open, but we don't have 6 people to staff those gates. So if there's not an adult there, we're not going to open it because it's just too much of a security risk for us. We want to make sure that we're looking at kids as they're coming in and greeting them in the morning so they're having that first positive experience. Another question was what time the library opens. This year we have 2 substitutes in our library. My goal is to have the library open from 8 to 4 every day. To do that requires like a human resources bureaucratic change to someone's job description. I'm going to push for that so that we can have that open from 8 to 4. Library's on the 3rd floor. It's a really comfy, cozy place for kids to hang out. They can print if they need to. They can be online. They can read. They can check out a book, all that fun stuff. Do we have coding classes? Next year, we will have coding offered because we will have someone available to teach it. All right, Dr. Robinson, in person.
What's your phone policy during school time?
Oh, God, I love the phone question. You take it, Dr. Robinson.
So our phone policy is that once the first period of the day starts, which is 8:30, we like you to turn your phone off and put it away. If your teacher asks you to use your phone for an activity in class, or if you say, hey, my project is cool, can I take a picture of it so I can show mom? You're welcome to do that with your teacher's permission, but other than that, it should be off and put away. We try to get you not to keep it in your pockets because we get a lot of lost cell phones that way. You're running on the field, it falls out, and then we have to hope for kindness and hope it makes its way back to the office. Once the end of the bell rings at the end of the day, you can turn your phone back on and start using it as you like.
So in short, you can't use your phone during the school day. And don't let your student tell you they need a phone for middle school. They don't. We still have a phone in the office that works. They don't know how to work it, and we teach them how to work it with the buttons. But we have it. Let's hear it for analog. Yeah, we all did it. We all went to school with no phone in our pocket. Come on, they can do it.
Yes, I want to know what determines which core they get into.
It's totally random.
It is random.
Mm-hmm. So we put everyone in the system and then we hit a button and it goes, and unless a student has like a need specific, like they need to be in a dual language class that's only offered first period, then that might determine that they don't have a core who has something first period. That makes sense.
Yeah, and another question is the orientation is usually the week prior to for planning of our vacations.
Yes, vacation. Me too, friend.
And
Me
if
too.
we're
I can't
not
wait.
here, can we do like, when are we supposed to get the books?
If students aren't here, the week prior, we used to do books and pictures and PE clothes the week before school started, and it was a hot, sweaty mess. Parents are grumpy. I was grumpy. The kids are grumpy. It's silly. So we just got rid of that. And we have the kids come and do something fun and meet people and engage and walk the campus and get their schedule. If you're not here for that, that's okay. Your child can get their schedule online and be here for the first day of school. We give them their books and their Chromebook and their PE clothes over the first week or so. No one needs all that the first day of school. We know that. So we've just pushed it to when they're here already. So no one gets cranky in the hot hallways. Which I can't imagine a hot hallway right now because it's cold, but it happens.
Regarding the sports conditioning, does that start at 6th grade or 7th grade?
7th and 8th.
So for the athletic programs, they have to try out starting 7th grade?
After school sports takes all grades.
Okay.
Okay. It's just sometimes our 6th graders aren't quite as tall as and big and advanced as our 8th graders, so sometimes they may not make it, but we always have a 6th grader or two on every team. Mm-hmm. While Dr. Robinson makes her way, what is the difference in the curriculum of the advanced English and history classes versus the regular classes? The teachers in the advanced classes move at a faster pace. Their expectations for what students do to show their learning might be more writing based, might be more advanced, might require more research, but that's the general guideline. It's not like high school where they have a really clear difference between advanced placement and regular classes. It's teacher dependent, but those general ideas of working at a faster pace and having different expectations for the level of work they're turning in. They might do more debates, they might do more higher level thinking activities in there. That does not count for advanced math. Advanced math is an entirely different curriculum.
Regarding lunches, how does that work here? Do you have like a debit card or you prepay or,
And lunches are free again next year. So the only thing that kids pay for is if they want additional food outside of what's allotted, or if they want water or where they have cookies and stuff, that's not part of the free situation. We have vending machines, so some kids like to carry cash, but you can still have an account for your child and load it with cash so they can get what they need outside of the free offering. And a lot of kids bring their lunch. I will say the lunch lines are really, really a problem in the first few weeks because everyone's getting used to it. 6 new students to middle school are used to just being handed food. In here, they say, what do you want? You have these options, and that just trips them up entirely. They're like this. Then what do you mean I have a choice? So it's just, we get them through, it's fine, but it just takes a long time and it can be overwhelming because there's just a lot of people waiting. So we will have, with 150 new students to us next year from Balboa, we're already working with the district on like remote areas to serve food so that we don't just have the same system we have this year for 150 more kids. But a lot of kids bring their lunches, and honestly, that's like a pro trick. Bring your lunch the first few weeks until you get ready. Because the lines are just one more thing to deal with. I'm going to answer an online question. If our child signed up for advanced drama, when would they audition? Once we have all the names of advanced drama and choir students who want to, we have advanced choir as well. Those are audition based. Once we have that information and those names, our choir and our drama teachers will reach out.
I know students have their own emails and communication. Do parents get a copy of any emails, or those are strictly just
the students? This is like part of the digital citizenship and the kind of the leveling up of their own needs. So they will send emails to, like Dr. Robinson said, to the adults on campus asking questions. Sometimes they ask me questions that I can't even answer because it's like an office question. They're very funny. Like, I'm going to be absent. What do I do? I'm like, tell the office. So you don't get a copy of that, but you can ask your child to look at their email. You still have the ability to do that. All of our teachers use Google Classroom, so a lot of the communication with teachers often happens in that space as well, and I think all of us know what that is at this point in the world in education. So those are just the two different things. Honestly, they're great with their email. They learn how to do a signature card. They learn how to do, like in the beginning of the year, we get the email where it's like a whole paragraph in the subject line. We're like, whoa. So then they get an email back like, hey, this is how we teach them in our response how to do that. So we try and teach them to use it as a tool. That's predominantly how kids use it here. It's just another communication tool. I'm sorry.
Hi. Is there Spanish history advanced class?
You want me to take it, Dr. Robinson? Sure. Okay. Oh, you're on the mic. If the child's in Spanish dual language classes, if they're already in the FLAG program, then they take 2 sections in their target language. So they'll take a Spanish class that's history content, and they'll take their Spanish language class. But the Spanish history class is taught entirely in Spanish. It's the same content as the other kids will get in English, but you have to be in the dual language program for that. Oh, there you go. The dual language Spanish history class is built in advancement. So we don't call it advanced, but they don't take 2 history classes. That then and there is already going to be really rigorous. We're good? I hear that Sharpie, Mr. D. Thank you. All right, and then we're gonna, I think Dr. Robinson took the clicker, so maybe she can click from far away. Is there a way to walk through campus to see the classes the kids will be in? Yes, that's what the web week is for. So they'll have their schedule, that web experience the week before class starts. They'll be able to walk the campus with their schedule in hand and with a student who knows where they're going. That's really the key. But we kind of flood the hallways the first few weeks of school with us, with the students who are web leaders. They wear those great shirts. And so the kids know who to go to. And there's always someone in a hallway. Teachers stand at their doors for the most part every day at school to greet kids outside of their classroom. So any teacher can get them where they need to go. The biggest, we said the secret of middle school, number 1, print out that schedule. Number 2, get used to asking for help. Don't just stand there and think you have to solve it because you're in middle school. Ask someone to help you. We're going to get you where you're going, for sure. Also, can kids have a walkthrough so they don't get lost? Everyone's going to get lost, guaranteed. Guaranteed. We have like Miss Brown, whose daughter has been coming to the school for 6 years because her mom's taught here. She's going to get lost. Ella's going to get lost. She doesn't know where she's going because it's just the way of the world. I had an adult who started last year. She's like, I don't know where that room is. I'm like, well, can you ask for help? She goes, yes, I can. I can ask where that room is. So we will help them. It's impossible to say they won't get lost. If your child's anxious about it, it's really important to be here that week before school starts because they're going to get those little anxiety feelings out. If we have questions about registration, how do we reach the counseling office? Great question. Email. If you go on our website, go to the counseling tab, their emails are there. And if you call, they'll connect you as well. All right, we're going to zip through because we're already an hour in. We knew this was going to be long, but we're going to zip through. We already talked a little bit about getting your child involved. We have clubs on campus. Clubs are started by students. So this year, and you might have seen flyers on the way in, we have a calming club, which is they just chill out 1 day a week at lunch. It's great. We have a Lego club. We have video game club. We have a Pokemon club, a Taylor Swift club. We have a lot of clubs. Those clubs are going to change next year because the students are going to change. So at the beginning of the year, we teach kids how to start a club, what the process is, and then we teach them how to promote it and all of that good stuff. And we do something called Club Rush, where we throw a bunch of tables out in our outdoor area during lunch, and the kids get to promote their clubs and have other kids sign up. So teachers help run clubs, but the ideas really come from students. We have lunch and after school athletics. So we do stuff at lunch all the time, activities that are fun and silly, but then also after school sports if they want to do that. We also have a track team. That's a one time a year track meet against the other middle schools. We have something called Student Senate, which is our way of getting student input on decisions we're making. Every first period nominates a student to come to the meeting. We teach them how to participate. We ask them questions and we listen, and often we put their ideas to work. So we do something called the Panorama Survey, which your students take at elementary as well. That's a survey that asks them, like, how safe do you feel at school? Do you ever hear bullying? Do you ever see this? Do you ever see that? We take that information and then we build our questions from the Student Senate based on that. So if we had a high number of kids say there's not enough adults in this area of campus and we need more, we'll readjust our schedule to be there. So we try and take their input and have honest conversations with them. They're old enough to do that, and they see things we don't. We all know that. So whether it's safety or things to make it easier, like someone's like, real small adjustment to this, or like someone said, you need to have students on TMS Live. Well, now we do. TMS Live's our announcements, right? So sometimes it's easy, sometimes it's hard, sometimes we can't make that change, but we try and open up opportunities for them to listen. We really encourage community service hours, as small as the girls who are up front collecting your names in the bucket to volunteering after school in the community or on campus. We really encourage that. Our kids work in the cafeteria. If we share a cafeteria with Keppel, so if your kids go to Keppel and they have students who work in there, they can do that here too. It really helps out a lot because, like everywhere else, we're short-staffed. So the more bodies back there, the better. And then for you, supporting your kiddos. So stay up to date on that Parent Connect. I wouldn't check grades every day. I think grades are like if you're trying to lose weight and you weigh yourself every 10 minutes, you're going to be disappointed, right? Because you're not going to lose the weight you want to lose, right? So check it like once a week. Set a date with your kiddo. Maybe you do that on Sunday night. Maybe you do that on Friday night. Maybe you do that on Wednesday morning, whatever the case may be. Read the Titan Weekly. That's our email that goes out every Sunday. I try and always have it go out at the same time every Sunday. That's going to have a lot of information. That is our main way of communicating from school to home. We don't do a Sunday call. It's just that email. Encourage your child if they come to you and say, oh my God, this teacher has been, I don't know how to do the homework. Say, okay, did you talk to your counselor? Or did you talk to the teacher? Encourage them to take that step because they need to learn how to do that. It is hard to let go. You can't let go entirely, but you can get them started on that process. And these are the nicest people on the planet. No one's going to be like, what's wrong with you? I can't believe you don't know how to do that. No one's going to say that to your student here. We want to make sure and guide them through, and your kid is going to feel so powerful once they do it themselves, 100%. And that's what we want. Our PTA and foundation are out front. We always need parents to volunteer there. Our foundation supports our arts programs here. So like if we needed new microphones for our productions, they're the ones who purchase those microphones for us. Our PTA does all the great things that PTA does at all your schools, supporting students, supporting teachers, and celebrating both students and teachers throughout the year. And we have the toll calendar on our website and on Parent Connect, because we use Parent Connected or Parent Square too. You can link the calendar to your own calendar. If you're an iPhone user, you can link it to iCal, and you can use it to link it to a Google Calendar. I often tell the APs I get confused because I'm looking at something happening at one of my own children's schools. I'm like, what is that? Are we doing? Oh no, that's not us. That's my kid, not toll. So again, PTA, our board nominations are happening now. Our Toll Foundation, you can support with time. We do a activity, kind of fundraising-based activity and event in the fall called the Dash of the Titans. If you are at a school and you do a fun run, it's very similar to that. So we have that activity. And then we always, if you know people in the community who want to donate time, services, money to Toll, we always say thank you. So again, the Titan Weekly is emailed to families, and students get this too. That's the magic of the student email. They get that email just as much as you do. So I have students, we had our book fair last week, and we had a link to a Sign Up Genius to volunteer, and we had kids sign up. And the parent who's running the book fair, she's like, who is this person? I'm like, oh, that's a student. She like went right on. She's like, I'll be volunteering from 1 to 4. I'm like, no, friend. You got to go to class. Can't be in the library volunteering. That's not for you. So kids read it, and then they feel informed. It's great. And then we do those morning announcements. It's called TMS Live on our YouTube channel, Monday, Wednesday, Friday mornings. And everyone's watching at that same time. They're in their first period, whether it's PE or drama or English or math, we're all watching at the same time. It's very fun. Dates for you. This is the slide you can take a picture of if you want. Student registration forms are due before March 3rd. That's the form you have probably at home. You have to sign that before your student turns it in, so make sure you do that. Toll Open House is March 9th. I sent a flyer to your elementary principals. They have it. They should be posting it. You are all welcome to open house. There's no guide at open house. You just basically walk on campus and you wander with your child. They get to see, and if you're like looking for highlights, we're gonna have kids in the hallways who can take you to like, you're like, oh, can you take me to a 6th grade English room? A student will be able to take you there. Meet the teacher, what have you. It's a busy night, so it's not the night to get a lot of details, but it's a good night to kind of get the feel for the campus. We'll also have student performances in and around campus, artwork up, and things like that for you to enjoy. Toll orientation and our web experience, again, we've talked about that a few times. It's the week before school begins in August, and the first day of school is Wednesday, August 16th. I know, I don't want to think about it either, I'm not ready. All right, so stay in touch. Those are our emails also on the website. With the exception of Dr. Robinson, Mr. D and I have very long last names. It's kind of a rule. So people send me emails I never get because I don't spell my name right. Same with Mr. Dermogordichian. Robinson, you got it. You got that, I think. And then our Instagram page is there and our YouTube page. You can follow. Comments are usually closed on YouTube because I don't need the feedback on my hair or makeup or lighting or anything. I don't need it. I'm busy. So we closed the comments for those for that, but then today we had it open for questions. So again, all student run and student driven, so it's exciting. Mr. D, any more questions in the aforementioned comments? Great. All right, that's what we have for you tonight. We are here to answer questions for a little bit, but lastly, I have a drawing to do. Dr. Robinson, do you want to go and get our swag down there? Do you see the sweatshirts and the sticker? So thank you for filling out your name. You gave me your name and your student's current school. We have gifts from our foundation to get you started on your Toll gear. We always try and get kids to wear Toll gear or green and gold on Fridays and for game days. So we have this beautiful newly designed sweatshirt. If you win, we'll talk sizing. So we have this beautiful hoodie and we have stickers. So I think I have 3 stickers, 2 hoodies, right? Okay, so I'm gonna just pull 5 names, please hold. And if you're on YouTube, I'm sorry, you must be present to enter. This is how we do our PBIS drawings too. All right, Edwin Avanes from Balboa. Come on up and we can talk to Dr. Robinson about what you want. Artemis Matavosian from Balboa. This is cheating because Balboa has 2 grades coming to Toll, so they're representing deeply. Gohar Zargarian, fun fact, her sisters were my students at Toll. They're delightful, delightful. Okay, I'm gonna cheat a little because this is Balboa heavy. So I'm just gonna, and the first one I see that's not Balboa, no offense. Robert C. from Columbus Elementary. How many more I got? That was 4. I said 5, right? Okay. Also, we have a Spirit Wear button online, so you can pre-buy Spirit gear for your kiddo. Keppel, Laura S. I have to put my glasses on. Come on up, Laura. I promise I'm not selling your names on those tickets to anyone else. We're here if you have questions, but thank you so much for coming. I know it was a lot. This PowerPoint's going to be on our homepage, and I might just email it to your principals too as a PDF. Okay, thank you so much. Have a good night, and we'll see you in August or at open house.